but the problem is that this is the way things are. Like Fonterra in particular, and dairy and meat industries, they make up a large part of New Zealand's import and export.
Definitely.
And with demonstrations like this, there's no big long-term solution.
That's definitely true. Martin Luther King was protesting against slavery. Do you think he had a plan for absolutely everything past his lifetime that was going to happen?
Martin Luther King wasn't there when there was slavery.
That's a massive difference.
Yeah, but that's not 80 times 300 animals saved. That's just 80 times 300 animals going to someone else.
It's not perfect, I'll be honest. It's not perfect.
That's interesting. I'm going to go to KFC. See ya.
All right, thank you so much, guys. Bye.
May I ask something?
Yeah, sure.
Is this... I think I might know what's going on here.
Yeah.
You guys are environmental activists. Just play with
Oh,
me
no,
for a
it's
second.
not. It's
No,
not
and you're trying to
environment.
get people talking and stuff like that.
I definitely want to talk, but it's not to do about. It's got nothing to do about the environment.
Are you guys just shameful lobbying?
Shameful lobbying? What's that?
Well, no, lobbying is like in US governments, for example, where companies like pay senators or whatever to argue for their cause, and you guys just skipped all of that and just went straight to the message.
I'll tell it to you straight. Animals deserve to be abused. That's a truth of society that a lot of people would look at it and disagree with, but their actions say the exact opposite with the everyday things that they purchase in their lives.
Okay, and so they... hold on a second, I'm a little bit confused.
Yeah, sure.
There's one thing where, like, humans and, like, poaching and stuff like that and eating meat, I get that, and I get the sort of thing in that, but there's one thing, like, animals are abused, and then there's another thing that animals deserve to be abused.
Yeah.
Why do
So
they deserve to be abused?
That's really... The onus isn't on me. The onus is on the people who support the industries that are actively abusing animals. What industries do you think that would be?
Fonterra, if I had to guess?
Yeah. So dairy industry, egg industry, meat industry, all those industries, right?
Okay.
No one has any qualms at all about heavily supporting those industries, which is why I present this statement. When you go to your friend's house and they give you some meat, you never ask, where did that meat come from? Did that animal suffer as a result?
Yeah, but again, it's like I understand the message of it, but the problem is that this is the way things are. Like Fonterra in particular, and dairy and meat industries, they make up a large part of New Zealand's import and export.
Definitely.
And I understand wanting to change a culture, and it's a very courageous thing. But how is it I'm just struggling to get my head around what's the sustainable change? Because I understand activism in short term, but long term, usually with demonstrations like this, there's no big long-term solution.
That's definitely true. So what I'm trying to do, because I can't do this to Fonterra, or even if I start a petition against Fonterra, I need the signatures from people who would approve boycotting Fonterra. In New Zealand, that's very hard to find, isn't it?
Yeah.
So from the grassroots level, we need to change the culture in the first place. From a culture of animals deserve to be abused to a culture of animals definitely do not deserve to be abused. And that's why we need to have these kind of conversations, because no one's really talking about this at all.
There's no surprise in the past that stuff like this happens, and people petition and governments say, you know what, there's a big public outcry, we'll change our ways, we apologize, and then they just never follow through, nothing ever happens. So how would you regulate something like this?
I'm not too sure, because I'm at the level of, I guess, I just want people who are ready to change. I can't really control, I'm not willing to dedicate my life to going to the policies and all of those things, but I'm sure there's definitely going to be people who do that and who will do that and are doing that. If we think about the laws and regulations that we have for animals like dogs and cats and pets that we respect, those things are definitely in place. I'm not sure exactly how they built that up, but it does start from somewhere.
This is a question that's been asked throughout the ages, but humans, mostly in the Western world, don't eat dogs or cats or domestic animals like that, but cows and pigs and sheep and stuff like that are absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a line that needs to be drawn somewhere, but why is the line over here? And because it seems like treating animals humanely is one thing, and then just flat out not eating them, because that's technically torture, is another. So where's the sort of line is what I'm trying to ask.
So what do you mean by not eating them being...
Well, because it's being tortured like this while they're alive and obviously living in...
Oh, okay. So maybe factory farming versus free range? Is that...
Yeah, factory farming, stuff like that, but also just animal abuse just in general.
Yeah.
But how does that change the culture of meat as a whole? Because there's one thing to eat, meat, and there's one thing to eat meat treated poorly, and one, cancels out the other if they were both to get rid of it.
Animals that are raised for meat, they're forcibly impregnated. Around the world, we kill around 56 billion land animals a year. those are all animals who have been like impregnated and bred. If we stopped eating them, they literally just wouldn't exist. And that's a really good thing because they don't need to.
Should wait, hold on, sorry. So I apologize for using this term. It's the only one I can think of, even if it's politically incorrect, but like a genocide of farm animals.
Not a genocide because it's not like we're going to kill them. Okay. We're going to stop them from being bred into existence.
So eugenics. So eugenics.
Which is?
Pretty much forced sterilization.
No. Because this is an issue of supply and demand.
Okay.
The farmers only breed the amount of animals that they can sell.
Okay.
If the demand goes down, they'll stop breeding them.
Okay.
So as people start boycotting the industries that are abusing animals, the farmers will be breeding less and less animals to a point where they stop breeding them altogether, hopefully. So we won't actually have to kill them. The farmers will just stop forcibly breeding the animals.
I may just be nitpicking on something you said earlier, but
yeah,
you said
fine.
like, there shouldn't be like pigs and cows, stuff like that. Would you agree that like maybe not for eating or farming purposes there shouldn't be, but just like to have as pets in rural areas?
Yeah,
okay?
Sure. If people truly want to rescue them and give them a good life, that's fine. But the problem with these animals, especially farmed animals in particular, is that they're genetic freaks. For example, baby chickens, they grow to full adult size in 6 weeks. Their muscles grow way faster than their bones can develop to have the density. Just on their back legs, like they can't stand and stuff like that. They have ridiculous amounts of medical problems as a result of their genetics that just can't be fixed. You'd have to like reverse engineer their genetics over a breeding program to let them have a decent life if we did want it. So basically that's why I think they shouldn't exist at all.
That's I'm not saying right or wrong, I'm just saying that's a very sort of abstract sort of, I guess, way of thinking.
Yeah, and like that's really like a pipe dream, man. Like
it is
that is so far ahead of my lifetime.
Like, no offense, I want to go to the moon, but I don't think I'm ever going to do that. Like, what do you guys sort of think is going to come of this, I guess? Let's say
this event, or?
Well, like, not this event, but like I don't know if you're part of an organization or an activist group, whatever, but just like this whole thing in general, what you're arguing for. In your lifetime, if everything goes brilliantly, what would you like to see happen and isn't achieved?
Honestly, I don't have massive aspirations, but if you think about the amount of animals one person would eat in their lifetime, let's say they live to 80 and we do like 80 times 300 animals a year, something like that. Even if one person stopped eating 80 times 300 animals per year, that's a massive difference.
Yeah, but that's not 80 times 300 animals saved. That's just 80 times 300 animals going to someone else.
No, not necessarily, because like I said, we're talking about supply and demand. There's also a lot of demand for things like vegan products, which is shifting the demand away from animal products. So farmers are actually making less, and especially in America, like the dairy industry is failing because of it. And if they're failing, they're not going to breed more; they're going to breed less. So.
What about the people in sort of rural America who have like an upbringing in somewhere in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, Kentucky or something, and from their family, the only thing they know is like raising chickens, for example, or raising pigs. That's their livelihood. Even if it's not a lot of money and they live below the poverty line, that's where their livelihoods come from.
Yeah.
So what other alternatives do they have? Because a lot of times, no offense, but they haven't really even passed high school to an extent, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so there's not really a more sustainable job for them. It's going to put a ton of people out of employment.
It will put a lot of people out of employment, but do you not think that in the production of other foods that are going to replace the animal products, they would get a job in that?
What other foods? Like what are the alternatives?
Whatever they decide to make, alternatives to meat, to chicken, beef, there's going to be a lot.
Yeah, but even then, there's a whole debate about GMOs, and then society will make a decision about that, and they'll probably go in the way that will ostracize them, and they'll be closed down. And just seeing how things worked before, I'm almost guaranteed it's going to happen now.
Yeah, either way, we can look at it at the global scale, or we can look at it at the individual scale, or a community scale. Like, either way, this is a philosophy to me. Regardless of what other people think, how they live their lives, whether they choose to cause harm or not, it's not going to affect my decision not to cause harm.
Yeah, okay. So do you just stop buying meat in general? Or?
Yeah, stop buying animal products just because I'm against animal abuse.
And so does that also include like eggs and milk and such as well? Yeah. What about, because animal products are sort of seed in everything, or even gummy bears, the gelatin that they use is made of cow
so you
fat
can
and
get
such.
stuff like gummy bears that aren't. Yeah, there's a lot of,
Okay.
There's almost a solution to everything, but it's not perfect, I'll be honest. It's not perfect.
And you just think that the world needs a bit of a bigger change in order to make it, like, sort of sustainable?
Not at all. It needs everyday individuals to make small changes. And together we come together as a community to make a massive change that we can't even comprehend.
That's interesting. I'm going to go to KFC. See ya. No, I'm kidding.
I don't care because whenever I have these conversations, I don't know whether you're going to lie to me or whatever.
No, I'm just voicing the way how I see things, because personally, after this conversation, I'm going to be bluntly honest with you, but there's no plan to actually sort of get this off the ground. I know you have to start somewhere and then build bigger, but it's just at the moment, it's like we have this meat-centered society and industry at the moment, and then it's just going to go to we're all going to be eating like soy-based products or something like that.
Do you think when Martin Luther King was protesting against slavery, do you think he had a plan for absolutely everything past his lifetime that was going to happen?
Martin Luther King wasn't there when there was slavery.
Well, yeah. You know what I mean, right?
I know what you mean, yeah.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, fair. But, yeah, fair enough. I mean...
The onus isn't on me to have all that stuff planned out, and I'm sure, like...
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's 100% your responsibility. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying...
And I think, like, if we choose any philosophy, like, any ethical decision, like, we don't have to think, like, you know, that far.
I think, regardless of however you go about it, whether it's just having more regulations on farmers and how animals are treated, or whether it's just...
I'm looking at individual people.
Abolishing it, or whether it's just abolishing the whole system.
We just make a decision as consumers to boycott the products that are abusing animals. Simple as that.
That leaves quite a big gap though, and I'm just... never mind.
A gap of what?
This is something that we've had for so unbelievably long. It's difficult to sort of know what's going to replace that. It's not like a 20-step, 20-year plan. It's just
there's already heaps of stuff that's replaced. Like, for example, the dairy industry, we've got a shit ton of different plant milks that have replaced it already.
Yeah, but they're not gaining traction. A lot of people still use animal products or whatever, and I just don't think that more and more of it is going to really change anything.
Do you know how much of the percentage of the population is vegan?
My uncle, that's why my knowledge ends.
So we've got less than 1% of the global population that's vegan.
Oh, wow.
And you think about how many vegan products there are to cater to less than 1% of the population. I'd say that's a lot of traction.
You know what? That's a good point.
I'd say that's a hell of a lot of traction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even argue about political opinion on that one, because that's just how things progress. If the public deem it acceptable and if it's in the interest,
we're a democracy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's up to the people. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's why I'm talking to people.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I respect that. I really wish, maybe not for this cause, but I really wish I could do something like what you do or whatever, just going around talking to people. But yeah, anyways, it's really interesting. Have a great day, man.
Cool, you too, man. Thanks for chatting. Sorry?
This thing live stream?
I'm on a YouTube channel.
Oh wait, can I have the link? Or?
Yeah, it's called The Victim's Perspective.
I tried to, no pun intended, but I tried to switch to more sort of like greener and like plant-based products, stuff like that, and try to cut out meat. Not really because of this, but just because I think it's the more ethical thing to do.
Yeah, fair enough.
Thinking more about your stand and stuff, I just couldn't help but think like, I completely fell to the trap of it. I'm doing it again. It's meant to sort of spark debate and conversation.
It does, doesn't it?
It does. Like, not inflammatory isn't really the right word, because you're not doing anything bad or wrong, but to sort of get people to pay attention to it. But yeah, so I want to start. Sorry, I need to be somewhere. But
no worries, man.
Keep up the good work, and you do some great editing as well.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, dude.
No worries,
Cheers. You too.